Hey guys, welcome back. Wait, am I talking first, Kelly?
Yeah,
Just kidding.
it's your turn.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Welcome back, guys. So this is episode 3 of F the Boxes, and hopefully you have watched the first two. And the first one we talked more about like the global impact of just like the boxes and what we are told from an early age to believe, and what does that look like, and more from like the external sources, right? And then episode 2 we talked more about like just more of our intimate environment and our belief systems as a result of the environment we were raised in, the people we were raised around. And then really like now we want to kind of bring this back into you guys of this evolution of and this awareness of I have been checking all the boxes my whole life, and I am now in this awakened state. It's not a crisis, it's this awareness, this awakening to like, oh, these boxes, this strategy I've been led to believe will bring me happiness actually hasn't. And that doesn't mean I can't look around and be super grateful for what I have, for my family, my things, whatever that is. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. And it's not on anyone else. It's literally on this system, this exact structure of box, 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 box just doesn't serve me anymore. And maybe it's a beautiful thing that got me to here, but now I want to like bloom beyond that box, right? So I want
Yeah.
to F the box and bloom kind of idea. And so, we really want to talk about this idea of looking at those belief systems, looking at the boxes that you've checked, and maybe you choose to bring some of those into and forward. And maybe there's some that don't serve you anymore. And they just, it's okay. We give you permission to say, like, oh, it totally worked then, but it doesn't work for me now.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to choose to let that box go. And I'm going to create a box or create a circle,
My
whatever you
own
want to call it.
system.
Thank you, Kelly. My own system to allow me to flourish in a way that serves me best. And like on last episode, we were talking about like when your cup is full, how you can then serve and give and love, and there's this currency beyond you. And so we're actually giving at a greater capacity, and the self-care and the self-love. And then how does that expand into and trickle into all the people around us, right? And so really being able to like reflect on all of that, right, Kelly? And like
Yeah.
look at the things and like pull forward what you want to keep, let go of what you don't, but knowing and owning that it's okay to let that go if it doesn't serve you anymore, right?
And just like even like asking ourselves, like I know for me too, it was like when I hit I think I was like 42, 43, and I was like, man, this is not the life that I wanted. Like, where is like my partner? Where is, my $1 million in the bank? Where is my travel? Right. Where is that?
Yeah.
And like I really had to like sit down and really start to cultivate what I
Mm,
actually and what my desires were and how am I going to get there? Like what
mm,
action can I take now to get there?
mm,
Like a
mhm.
5-year plan kind of thing, right? So just like taking
Yeah.
that time for yourself, it's part of your self-care, I think, is jotting down maybe one desire that you've had in the back of your mind, but the kids came first, or your husband came first, or you got a
Yeah.
divorce, you sold your house, or whatever, you
Right.
went bankrupt, whatever
All the things. Yep.
that life happens, right? But
Yeah. Oh
honestly,
gosh.
like if if you ever had to do that, go back in time and think like where did I actually want to be at 43,
Yeah.
right? Have you thought about that?
Well, I'm here
Share
at
with us.
43 right now.
Yeah, that's my
And
that's what I said.
oh, sweet. I'm following along totally. Um, you had my brain spinning, which is definitely a Kelly skill that you have. So
What I like to do that.
she likes to spin it.
Stimulate.
What's fascinating is I don't know that I look at it in that way. I think for me, how would I articulate this? It's always been this idea of what's next. So if I've achieved a goal, awesome, good job. It's some level expected, based on my upbringing, right?
Yeah.
But at the same idea, like what's next? And obviously there's some pros and cons to that. Like, right, but I think for me, it was when I met my husband. He drastically changed how I look at things because one, he held the space and there's no judgment. And there's
That's
no
huge
judgment
and
for
amazing. Yeah.
there's no judgment for my story. There's no judgment for my past. There's nothing other than like, he truly wants me to love my life and be fulfilled in the way that makes me happy. So if I have the dream of writing a book, he's like, cool, go write the book. If I have the dream of this, he's like, cool, go do that. Right. And so I think I was moving in that direction, but it was hard to kind of do it on my own. And then when the safety net, in a sense of emotional and mental support, was there, it allowed me to feel like, oh, yes, okay, now I'm really going to start chipping away. But I don't know that I ever, even prior to that, had this idea of where will I be when I'm 43. I guess I assumed, based on my childhood beliefs, that I'd be married, 2 kids, have a career.
Yeah.
Based on just like what I was brought up in, right? So
White
I don't
picket
know that I
fence.
really thought like like associated with age. There was never a success by an age. It was more
No.
of the success itself. And then
Yeah.
just the idea of once you hit that, you move forward. So I think that's how I would answer that. I know that that's probably how some people think. And then other people are more of, like I remember a girl, a friend of mine in grad school was like, she had it all planned out, right? By the time she was 30, this is what life looked like. By the time she was 33, this is what life looked like. And I remember like it was yesterday when she went through a breakup during grad school. She was shattered, and I thought, and said something to her of, around the idea. And that's when she brought forth, well, if we don't work out and I have to start over, I might not hit my timeline. Right. And I'm using my words. I don't think those were her words specifically, but that's what she was saying is like, I might not hit my timeline of what I've always believed this would look like.
What I'm
And
supposed to be doing.
lo and behold, she's married, 2 kids. She has all the things that she had desired. I do not believe they were in the exact timeline, but really not that far off, right? But this idea of I never had that timeline. So it was fascinating to me when somebody actually expressed they did. Not here nor there, just fascinating. Oh, didn't realize.
Is she happy though? Is she happy?
I mean, well, that's a question for her, right? I don't think I can answer that for her. So yeah. But yeah, so 43 was never this idea. For me, it's more of all the visions that I have, all the things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And I also have this massive trust in the universe that it's going to deliver in its right timing, right? Mm-hmm. Everything in its right timing, as long as I'm taking action and serving, right? Because at the end of the day, it's for the greater good of everyone, not just for me. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tangent. I feel like, did we just get off on a tangent? Let's circle back, Kelly, to like but don't you using your voice?
Yeah, exactly. But don't you have a like you had a dream, like not necessarily having like a timeline on it, but when you look at your life right now, oh, I thought I would have achieved this by now. Do you know what I mean? Like not necessarily a timeline, but at this point in time, have you thought about, oh, I really thought this would have I wouldn't be still going towards this goal. I would have already had it done.
Well, when you ask it, like my initial answer was no, because that's literally not how I think.
Yeah.
But when you phrased it like that, I think for me, and you know this because you've been working with me for a long time, but for me, it would be this idea that clinically, I would have, and I was basing it off of a colleague and friend's business. So when we moved to Idaho 5.5 years ago, she had opened her practice in a different state. And within 2 years, she had X, Y, and Z achieved. And so in my mind, I thought, when I open my practice within 2 years, I'll have X, Y, and Z achieved. And I have to say, I don't have X, Y, or Z achieved, but good Lord, I would have never envisioned this is what my practice looked like. So I
Yeah,
see it
it's
from both, like,
better.
oh,
Yeah.
I didn't have what she has, and I still don't have what she has. I have completely different, and I love what I have, and she loves what she has, right? And so it's but it was this idea of when I first started my own
Ah.
business that her model was my model. And
Exactly.
I will have to say, when I hit the 2 year mark and I was not X, Y, and Z, I went through this massive internal, I'm not good enough. Why am I doing this? How dare I think that I could open a practice in the place where we knew no one and think within 2 years that I would have achieved X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And then it was this realization of, oh, no, actually, this is her road and here's mine. Right.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't look like I will never be X, Y, and Z, and that's absolutely okay. But it
Because
took me a
it's
little
not,
while
but
to
it's not
reframe and get
who
better.
you are, right? It isn't who
Totally.
you are. Your belief systems are totally different. And you're being
Yeah.
authentic to who you are as a therapist, woman, and everything
Correct.
we've talked
Right.
times. But that's
And like
key.
you talk about aligning my business with who I am and allowing my business to evolve as I evolve, right? And staying in this alignment versus trying to be her when I'm over here, and then it
Yep.
just never works. Yeah.
Because the global expectations, right, or our belief system that we accumulate over our lifetime says that we should be here. We should be doing
Mhm.
this.
Mhm.
In
Mhm.
actuality, if we're being authentic to who we are, which is our innate being, we're not going to be following them because that's not who
Mhm.
we are.
Totally.
So there.
And it's really on that. It's really hard. Here's a box. So I have my doctorate in physical therapy, right? But I don't do traditional physical therapy.
Mhm.
So when someone is hiring me or someone is, researching me and they see the physical therapy, they automatically put me into a box, and I do not fit in that box. Like I'm like trying to get out of the box, right? And that box has a time and a place, and it's a beautiful thing. It
Yeah.
doesn't fit who I am. I'm grateful for that box because that box is literally what allowed me to get into the work that I do. Because without a practicing license, I would have never been in the work that I'm in. I would have never met my husband because he also is a physical therapist, and he does more traditional work. He's a fellow in manual orthopedics. And so I look at that box that I achieved, right? And the beauty of what that brought me, because we met working for the same clinic, and I would have never met him. I would not be who I am today and have the life I have without him, obviously.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for the box, and I'm grateful for all that like period of my life brought me. But now I'm just like, I needed to like, and get out of the box, right? Because
Well, you
I
needed
don't
to
the
expand.
box. Yeah.
Because your belief systems were more towards like pelvic health and like empowering women and making sure that they're okay with their changes and shifting and everything else.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I remember too, when I first got into visceral work through the Brawl Institute, and it was helping me get better postpartum. And I remember Chris saying, kind of
Oh, I'm going to
questioning,
interrupt
right?
you for one
Yeah.
sec. Visceral means organs, in case.
Yes. Thank you.
No.
Organ manipulation.
Organ.
And so Chris, being more of a black and white human being, he was kind of like, I don't know about this stuff, right? So proud of him. He decided, like, I don't know what this is, but it's getting you better. So I'm curious. So he actually signed up for a visceral class and took what we call visceral manipulation 1, so VM1.
Yeah.
And I remember him coming home from the course. It's a 4-day course. And he came home and he said, it is not my thing, but I totally get where it sits now. Like I understand how it fits into this whole model, but it is
Yep.
not what I want to treat and do. But the cool thing is now he understands what, when, where, and why. And so if he has a patient that fits that, or he says, hey, let's do some of these more traditional protocols. And if it's not getting better, you have a history of abdominal surgery, a history of this, history of that, it may be that visceral manipulation is the better route for you. But let's do some of these other things first, right? So it's cool because he was able to expand his horizons, but he recognized and same with pelvic floor, like not every therapist clearly gets into therapy and then wants to treat the pelvis and bowel bladder sexual health, right?
Yep.
For me, it was a calling. So it really is this idea of, for me, it was by being in the box and achieving the box, I was then able to step outside of the box and do what served me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. And just bringing it all back that we have an inner consciousness within ourselves that, when we're not happy, when we feel something is amiss in our lives, like usually around between 37 and 45, like we talked about, we've already like gone to school, we've created a whole other life that has been expected of us, but have we actually fulfilled our desires, our needs, our wants? So that's kind of what we're talking about, is that understanding that if you feel like something is amiss in your current life, and you feel like you have a calling, go explore it. Like, go explore it. What do you really want in your life? Who do you want to be? Right? I mean, we're getting deep again, but it's just like last month, our topic was, who am I? Like, what's our identity? This is all part of it, because we have consciousness and this awareness that we're not living the life that we actually desire or want or need. So it's those changes towards what you actually want. And that's all about self-care.
Look at you circling it back. So something that popped into my head when you were just talking was this idea of, and I've heard this so often, someone who's been married for, let's say, 5, 10, 15 years, and they've been doing the same things over and over, whether in their marriage or just in their life, right, with family or the car they've driven or the job they've had or whatever that is. And now they have this awakening and they're afraid. They're afraid if they shift of what might happen because they're rocking the boat, they're changing the dynamic. What if I recall having a patient who was so excited just in that empowerment phase of wanting to grow and just be a better human. But she knew for themselves, and she owned a couple different businesses, all the things. And she even said, my fear is that as I grow, my husband will refuse to grow and he won't support my growth. Like he likes the little box that we live in. And so he's adamant that we stay here because this feels good for him. And so every time I try to maybe I take some kind of course, like a Tony Robbins or some kind of like personal development, and I'm like, here, then he pulls me back in. And then I'm like, here, and then he pulls me back in because for him, it's comfortable. And I'm the one.
And they don't want to change.
I want to grow, right?
Yeah.
And which, when I say I want to grow or I want to invest in my personal development, then they think that something is wrong because I'm not satisfied. I'm not happy. So I'm looking outside of what we have to try and feel better, be better, do better, that kind of idea. So my point in that is there might be someone here listening today who has a fear-based mindset behind growth and evolution, simply because they will be breaking code and they will be shifting the dynamic. And what does that look like for maybe their spouse or their best friend or their parental whatever, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm in my practice, I tell people all the time, like, you have to be committed to yourself, because once you start making any kind of changes, whoever's in your inner circle, they're going to be put back because they don't want you to change. And it's not that they don't want you to grow or be who you are or anything like that, but within themselves, they don't want you to change, because then they have to change themselves, right? As soon as you start to upgrade who you are, either they follow you or they fall away. And that's the reality of it. You always have to consider, what am I doing to create the life that I want? Am I being who I truly am? Am I being authentic to who I am? You have to just remember that and just stay the course, because people are going to fall away, but people are going to come in too that are going to be better for you.
Right. Yeah. Because we attract what we give out, right? So as your vibration changes, as you're growing, developing, evolving, and being more love and light in that way, you're going
Yeah,
to attract more of that too. And if that person, whomever that person is, isn't ready for their own growth, at some level, that's part of their own journey, and they may never be ready, and they may figure it out a few years down the road and circle back, or maybe not at all. And so,
right.
yeah, I love that, because you have to be, I like how you said you have to be committed to yourself, because there is going to be codes that are broken as you change naturally, but
Yeah,
you're changing for the better. So then, therefore, the world around you, and it's not to say anything negative about that person who chooses not to grow at that time. It's in their own journey and on their own time, but it is hard, still hard, right?
but also
There's going to be a
too,
grieving process of
yeah, of
that
course.
person and who they were in your life. So yeah.
But also too, like we have our own kind of boxes that we put on ourselves, right? So like we also can assume that if we change, then that
Mhm.
person's not going to be happy about that, right? Like we're
Totally.
putting
Totally. Hmm.
like an assumption on the other person.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, we don't know. And the only way you're going to know is by taking action towards
Hmm.
whatever you
Hmm.
want, right? So self
Hmm.
key.
Yeah, I had a lot of that early on in my career as I shifted into the more alternative, kind of bridging that gap between Western and Eastern medicine, was this idea of I'm married to a man who's very black and white, very Western. And yeah, he loves and supports me. But what if I'm not the traditional PT I was when we met, right? I was only 4 months out of grad school when we met. And so I hadn't found my footing yet, and I'm still
Yeah.
continuing to evolve. But so is this going to rock the boat? Is this going to change his idea of who he thought I was?
Yeah,
And thankfully it
exactly.
didn't. Thankfully he's gung ho, but at the same time there was a little bit of fear there of, yikes, what if me stepping into who I'm really being pulled, who I really am and where I'm being pulled, actually rocks this marriage? And
Yeah,
I was like,
scary.
like what then, right? It's
Yeah,
scary,
it's
totally.
scary
So
for sure. But
mhm,
always know that if you stay in alignment with who you are and you're being authentic to who you are, things will
mhm,
shift and change how they're supposed to
mhm,
for the betterment of you and your life.
mhm, mhm. Yeah,
There's my
definitely.
soapbox.
Yes, I love it. Soapbox. So, and it's true, because I've had to break code a lot of times, and I still can look around today and be like, I've created this life. This is pretty freaking
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
Um, and would I have ever thought this is where I'd be at 43? No, I couldn't have imagined this.
My point.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my point. And I mean, when my son Braden was born and stuff, and I realized like my hopes and dreams of the life I wanted to create was not with Graydon's dad, right? So I had
Mm-hmm.
his choice, like, you don't serve me for what
Yeah.
I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's no support here. So I'm out of here. But thankfully for me, I'm very grateful. I'm very lucky. I had a supported family. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I had that. So
Yeah.
not everybody does, but there is support out there if you need to,
Mm-hmm.
make those choices that are important for you and the kids or whatever, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
support. You just got to find it in your area.
Yeah, find your cheerleaders, right?
Yeah.
Find the people that are going to cheer you on, and they see that you're desiring to shift, to grow, to be better, do better, show up
Create
better
that
for everyone.
community.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because
Have
there's a
that
lot of us out there.
community.
You just gotta find
Right.
them. I hate that word, but yeah, they're
No, but it's true.
as you accept that shift, they'll be right there for you. You'll meet new people who fit that mold, fit that season, and that's it. Some people are seasonal friends or seasonal support, but they come and go as they're supposed to, I believe. So
Cliche, but it's the truth. And
totally.
not to get all woohoo, but when your vibration changes, right? When you're elevated, so do the people around you, and
Hmm.
they will
That's
lift
it.
you up. I
That's
mean,
it. Yeah.
that's it.
That's it. And don't say woohoo, because this is not woohoo. This is like life, my friend.
It's a little woohoo what I do.
Well, we
I have
both
a
are
mixed
weird. It's
bag.
totally okay. It's totally okay. And come back down to earth level. So anyway, so let's wrap this up in a sense
Yep.
of kind of, I think at the end of the day, right, we talked about external societal boxes. We talked about more intimate, familial, close friends and relationships, right? You're the product of the five people you hang out with, they say. And so if you really reflect on your box that you're checking, is it based on somebody else that's in your intimate
Yes,
circle? Your BS, your belief system based on that, right?
or
And then
theirs.
really, yeah, for sure. And then, and what will this person think of me if, right? And then being able to really step into that just awareness and that awakening, if you're ready for that, but that awareness of that you get to create your best life. And maybe you didn't realize that until right this moment, because I know that I wasn't two when I learned that, right? But
Yep.
that there's this point where it's like, I'm in control. I'm in control of the vibration I carry, of the things that I'm doing. And so I recognize that I am daily by the things that I'm doing, the self care that I'm giving, the cup that I'm filling, that I get to create and live the life that I desire, which to me is my best life. So,
Yeah.
we really want that for you guys too, which is one reason why we're here, just hanging out, chit chatting, and hopefully empowering you to just reflect, be aware, make some shifts because shifts happen. And yeah, there it is. Shifts happen. So we love you guys. Thank you for being here. Episode 3 of F the Boxes. And we will see you next week. Have a lovely week. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.